that this is the transition of our search, but I'm grateful that his mom can have a heavenly touch with her baby again.
On Monday, a vigil was held to remember Jaylen Griffin. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the mysterious death of the 12-year-old. He was last seen walking his dog before he went missing in 2020. This after a 4-year-long search. His remains were found in the attic of a multi-unit home 5 miles away from Jaylen's family's home. But according to Buffalo police, the boy's body had been left in the attic of this home for a significant amount of time. A discovery that has left the neighborhood looking for answers due to the frequent activity at that home where Jaylen's body was discovered. Scripps News Buffalo has a look into that home where Jaylen Griffin's remains were found and the community's biggest concerns.
Neighbors of 107 Sheffield are telling 7 News they've had concerns with the 4-unit house and the people living there for years.
That house is mainly the only issue on our street, I would say.
This neighbor did not want to be named, but tells my colleague Maki Becker and I about a troubling situation.
About a year or two ago, I was walking my son down the street, and one of the ladies living in the residence at the time chased me down with a bat.
Another neighbor says she received cell phone alerts that convicted sex offenders on the sex offender registry had moved in to 107 Sheffield. 7 News found records to confirm one of those individuals was booked in jail just 1 month ago on a new sex charge. And Maki found an ongoing lawsuit that sheds light on past problems there.
This lawsuit has to do with a tenant here who's accused of starting a fire inside the house that then spread to another house, causing $130,000 in damage.
That neighbor is suing the tenant, the property owner, Sunrise West LLC, and Spectrum Health and Human Services. According to Spectrum's website, it has a supportive housing program that works with adults and caters to high-need, high-risk individuals with co-occurring mental illness and substance abuse issues. A spokesperson would not confirm if Spectrum is assisting the people now living in the house, but told me the organization is cooperating with police investigating the murder of Jaylen Griffin.
I want to bring in our special guest now. He is a forensic death investigator, professor at Jacksonville State University, and the host of the Body Bags podcast, which you should definitely check out. It's tremendous. Professor Joseph Scott Morgan. Professor Joe, talking about Jaylen Griffin's death, of course we think about the timeline that prosecutors are going to want to establish here. Going back so many years, tell us, how valuable can an autopsy be in determining the death timeline for this child?
It's going to be significant, Julie. The reality is that they are faced with a body that has essentially been hidden, in my opinion, for 4 years. So you're not going to have, and I'm going to be very blunt, my friend, you're not going to have any soft tissue. If it is there, it's going to be almost in a mummified state by this point in time. So picking up on things like contusions, bruises, even certain types of other blunt force trauma, like lacerations, might be hard to appreciate in these circumstances. Remember, the ME, all they had to work with this young man was his dental records in order to get him identified. That's how degraded the remains were. And so this is going to be a real problem. And of course, you know, it all comes back to a central point here when you're talking about an investigation like this, particularly where you have a body like this young child that is sequestered in this area, who had opportunity and access to the attic. It's one thing if you find a body on the front porch of a home, but you're talking about getting into a space in the upper portion of this home. Who had the ability to do that? And I would think that there would be quite a bit of data about the individuals residing in this home, and they're going to have to look deep into everybody's background.
Yes. Speaking of the home, Professor Joe, there's a petition right now to tear that home down. And perhaps I'm thinking of this comparison to the Idaho 4 student homicide case, maybe because we just got that breaking news this morning about the judge's ruling. But you and I have certainly talked about that home and the destruction of it and what evidence could still be there. Talk to us about this home, Professor. Do you think this could be a mistake to tear this home down? Could there be potential evidence to help solve this case?
Yes, yes, and yes, because if anybody has the propensity for this kind of behavior with a child, how do they know that something else sinister hasn't taken place in that home? This rush to tear down dwellings. Look, it's no secret. I mean, Buffalo has had a history of homicides, some violent crimes up there. Are they tearing down other homes? Why this home? If you want to get it vacated, fine, no longer in use, board it up, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here, for goodness sake. Keep the structure intact and follow. They still don't know who did this, right? So the home itself, this location could be the biggest piece of evidence that you have. Remember, you've got a body that was found here that was in an advanced state of decomposition, to say the very least, Julie. How do you know something else hasn't occurred here? So no, that's not advisable at this point in time. Maybe that's something they can explore a couple of years down the road.
Certainly, Professor. Thank you for that. I've got a clip from the vigil last night that was held to remember Jaylen.
There's more to the story, and we're going to get down to it. We're not going to stop until we bring justice for Jaylen, for Joanne, and Jawan. It's all going to be justice.
But just to think that that person could really be right in our circle. To think that that person could have joined us every year. To think that that person could have been here for prayer and for his birthdays.
Professor, as you know, so many people in the community want to see justice for this precious child. And there were neighbors who were interviewed by police and saying that there were a lot of unfamiliar faces going in and out of that home frequently. And we know that at least 2 registered sex offenders have lived at that home recently. Tapping into your experience as a forensic death investigator, how might all of that traffic in the home stifle investigators' search in finding the killer?
Well, if you've got individuals that have questionable past, that are affiliating with people even on the outside, Julie, this is a long span of time. You don't know who's been, brought in and out of that dwelling that is not necessarily domiciled there. And that makes this case even more complex. Because if you've got, let's say you've got individuals that if this place is in fact like a halfway house, you're going to have to go back and look at the people that the courts have kind of pushed through this, temporary residence, and go back. It's almost like a gigantic spider web when you think about you're seeking information. Who are all of their associates that may have been in there? Do any of these individuals have sexual proclivities that would involve a 12-year-old boy going back, or kids that fall in that age range? And of course, that would be your target that you would be looking for. It's very, very complex, to say the least. But the one saving grace here is that you have one central location where this event has occurred. So you go from that to trying to build this case out and understand who else could have been involved in this. Was it a singular person? And again, look, people don't start off at this level with this kind of violence and this kind of horror. I would be very interested to see if there are any other kids in this area that are missing that fit within these descriptors as this poor Jaylen child.
That's a perfect point to end on. May Jaylen Griffin get justice. We all want to see that.
Yes,
Professor Joseph
absolutely.
Scott Morgan, thank you so much for the great discussion this morning. We'll look forward to seeing you very soon.